Yes, welcome to the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, every week hosting a business communication expert whose tips and strategies will help us boost our business. Today, it's a privilege to host a longtime friend and professional associate, Tag Goulet from Calgary, Canada. And here are some comments about her, and there are many that I have to omit because she's accomplished so much. Tag's passion is helping people achieve their dreams in the business world. She has founded companies including FabJob and IAP Career College, which have helped career changers on 6 continents get started in their dream career. Today, we're talking about her philanthropy. Tag is a donor to a wide variety of nonprofit organizations, including Charities for Animals. My puppy would love that.
Oh,
The environment, health, and human services. Tag has a special interest in supporting the work of emerging creators and has been called a matron of arts for her support of visual, literary, and performing arts. She has helped finance the production of more than 100 independent films through organizations such as Santa Monica College's award-winning film production program, and is a donor to multiple nonprofits in this field. She's currently co-producing a Canadian television series coming in 2022, in which a group of Generation Z and millennial contestants will have the chance to win financial support for their creative dream. As you can tell, we're in for a very interesting and informative time. Hello, Tag. Welcome to the Biz Communication Show.
hi, Bill. I'm so happy to be here.
Delighted to talk with you about philanthropy, which has been and remains an important part of your life. A logical first question is, what is it that initially prompted you to become a generous person, both with your time as a volunteer and with your direct dollar contributions? There has to be some motivation behind that. Share that with us, please.
Well, I think for me, it came right from childhood because my parents are very generous. We'd have Christmas time, we'd receive gifts, and the expectation was there's children that aren't as fortunate as we are. Is there something that we children, I'm one of 5 siblings, could do to help the less fortunate? So right from childhood, it was just taught to me that you're part of a community. You help people who need help. And so it's a lifelong thing. And I told you before this came on, I am a little nervous about talking about philanthropy. This is the first interview I've ever done on this, but I'm really happy to have the opportunity to help those who need to raise funds, get some tips of do's and don'ts. So sometimes what comes naturally for people like me can get a little boost when we approach people the right way.
Certainly in what's happened over the last couple of years, not only with COVID, but with many national disasters that we've read about and have seen on television, there has been an increased need for generosity from those people who have not been affected. And fortunately, that has happened. Tag, thank you for mentioning how you got started on that. And it reminds us, of course, of the impact of our home life. And it tells us as parents and grandparents that our influence will carry on for generations. Now, something that comes to mind to me is that certainly when you make contributions of your time and your dollars, that's a benefit to organizations, some of which we've mentioned. It's a benefit to individuals. But beyond that, let's talk a little bit about what's the benefit to you? What is it a contributor, a generous donor gets out of signing checks or giving cash or giving time or making in-kind gifts? What does it do for the donor?
Well, this is interesting. And I'm going to just take a look here at a little bit of research that I found in this area. They've done studies on the human brain. So there's a researcher, cognitive neuroscientist by the name of Jordan Grafman, who is at Northwestern University Medical School. In the mid-20s, he put volunteers, he and his team, into an MRI. And while they were there, they asked the volunteers to decide about donating to certain charities. And then they watched what happens in the brain. They gathered data on what the brain is doing, what's most active, and they found it's something called the mesolimbic system, which stimulates production of dopamine. It's a chemical in our bodies that makes us feel good. And what they found is that giving money excites those circuits, makes us feel even better than receiving money. So when I give, it's a joy. It's I take pleasure in being able to, I feel like a good human. And I personally, I'm getting older, I'm child-free. I want to leave a legacy to the world. I want to make this world a better place for future generations. And so giving helps me feel like I'm doing that.
That's fascinating that there's even scientific evidence talking about the benefit of giving. I'll tell you something that I put on Facebook not long ago. I was thinking about this, and I found on Pixabay, where you probably get photos also to use, I found a picture of someone who looked very miserable. I put that on Facebook and I said, this person he represents misery, M-I-S-E-R-Y. And notice how close that is, misery, to the word miser.
Oh my gosh.
And
oh my gosh.
I said, this cannot be just coincidence. And I went beyond that tag. Looking at it more positively, I said that I had noticed just recently that the word live and the word give are practically the same.
Yes. And Bill, I think it's so amazing that you are in this field helping organizations with their fundraising and getting donations, and because so many organizations need that. They need to approach people the right way. People are inundated with requests from all sorts of organizations and individuals who want money. And so it's really good to have the good causes have your support in doing things right.
Thank you. And becoming a fundraising consultant it's really a continuation of what I was doing a couple of decades ago, because I spent 20 years as vice president of 3 colleges and a medical center, and I was vice president for development, advancement, fundraising, whatever you want to call it. And then in the time since then, I've been a communication consultant, as you know. But now I'm going back to what I think would be my first calling, and it is to helping organization maximize their gift income. Something you mentioned a minute ago, I want to elaborate on now. And you were talking about there's so many people who are asking for contributions. And so it's very important how we ask. It's essential. I mean, if we're asking for funds, we're competing with many other people who are doing the same thing. So talk for a couple of minutes, please, Tag, about what are some of the mistakes that people make when they go out to ask for funds? And then on the more positive side, what are some of the right ways to do it?
The do's and don'ts. Okay, so I made a note of this for myself because I thought about situations where I've been approached and either decided to give or not to give.
Yes.
And the number one thing that came up for me, what not to do, which may seem obvious, but this has happened multiple times, trying to make people feel guilty. we're not getting enough donations. You supported us in the past. Why are you not supporting us again this year? Why is your donation not bigger? That doesn't make the parts of my brain light up to say that I'm happy. There's other things though. Not
Pressure
asking.
pressure doesn't work in this situation.
No, it doesn't. And also, if someone says no, pushing against that and persistently contacting them over and over again and trying to convince them. I had an interesting experience. I was approached on LinkedIn by someone who wanted funds for something. And so I had a look at the program that he was asking for support for. And I thought, this isn't really my thing. I haven't supported this kind of thing in the past. I don't think it's for me. And I wrote to him and I said, well, thank you for reaching out. This doesn't seem like a good fit for me right now. And he wrote back and said, well, I really appreciate you just considering it. And I understand, and have a nice life, or whatever it was that he said. It was gracious and it was kind. And I ended up giving him a donation. So
how about that?
Because most people, when I've said no to them, well, the vast majority they're done. They disappear. and
they go on to the next person that they want to
right.
maybe browbeat.
Not even a thank you for your time. And in fact, a good tip is if someone is willing to meet with you, whether by Zoom or in person, chances are that person is going to donate. They're interested in donating. They're donating their time right now to spend with you, to hear about what you're doing. So there's a very good chance that unless you say something way off base, that this person's going to give you some support. Another don't that people have done, and I mentioned this with respect to making people feel guilty, is when a donation does come forward, how they respond to that. I'll give you a do and a don't. So in December, just a month ago here, I made a donation to a local organization that raises food for the community. And it's a very wonderful, they're a nonprofit. I should give them a plug here. It's Grow Calgary. I sent them $1,000. And the response I got, it made me feel great. It was fun. It was sweet. He wrote back and he said, you saved the farm. Your new title should be Farm Saver. And even though I thought, he probably says that to everyone, it made me feel good and it was fun and I liked that. And contrast that with, within a couple of weeks of that, I had offered someone more than $1,000 and the person was disappointed.
Oh my God.
I was hoping, I really need hundreds of thousands of dollars. And, wanting me to go raise it for them and just feeling that the donation that I wanted to give, which, hey, this is coming out of my retirement funds. When I do this, I want to feel good. I didn't feel good about that one. So there's the examples, the things to do, things not to do. And guess who I'm going to give more money to?
Yes, and you cannot belittle a gift. And I remember very well when I was in college fundraising, we had a capital campaign going, and we went to a large company in town, the president of the college and I, and we made an appeal, a request for $50,000. And a day or two later, the president called me and said, we got 25,000. I was very disappointed. I wish it was, I wish it would have been 50,000. And I'm thinking, please don't tell them that. Don't let them know. Yeah. Because there's a saying that I heard many years ago, and I still think it's true. Every gift is a major gift to the person who makes it.
It is. Yeah. $1,000, sometimes even $100 for me, will feel like a major gift.
Yes, and I remember so well. Some people ask me what's the most memorable gift that I was ever a part of generating, and it was not 100,000. It was not 500,000. It was not $1 million. It was a retired school teacher whose parents had taught her frugality.
Mm.
And she gave $93,000 to name a room at the college after them. And I'll never forget, Tag, that she made this transfer, started the transfer of funds on Friday. And she called me Monday morning and said, has the bank gotten the money yet? Have they got it? I mean, she was that excited. And to me, that's where the joy of philanthropy comes in.
Yeah.
When you see someone who you know is giving sacrificially, and they're giving out of gratitude, and they're excited about it. You love it when they're excited about it. Now, one other question we have time for. There are many times in fundraising organizations where the CEO or president of the organization, whether it's a hospital or a Salvation Army or a college or university that's seeking funds, there are many times that the CEO wants to stay away from that. That's just, they think that's not in their role, or they might not be good at it. What's your recommendation about the involvement, the need for the involvement of the top person in the organization?
Oh, I think it is so important to do that, because it makes the prospective donor feel that you're acknowledging that their donation is important. I'll give a great example of this as well. Typically, I will start off with a $1,000 donation when it's a first time to a new organization. And so a great example of this was Santa Monica College's film production program. Santa Monica College is amazing, and the film production program attracts a lot of people who, because of the cost, are able to go that would never otherwise be able to have higher education. I donated $1,000 to one of their films on a site like Indiegogo, and the program director, man by the name of Salvador Carrasco, so someone who's a successful director, personally reached out to me to thank me and to send me more information about the program. And I have been a steady donor since then for years on every one of their films that they come out with. They usually come out with a few a year, and it's been a joy. And I feel like I'm part of the community now. And that all started with the person at the top of that organization reaching out to me. You've got a faithful donor there. If you can have your CEO personally approach, it's definitely worth doing.
It makes a tremendous impact, and also their absence, particularly when you're dealing with other top CEOs, and you're asking for major gifts. Not only is the presence of the CEO of the asking organization important for the reasons you've mentioned, but also that CEO might be the only person in the organization who can answer the questions that the prospective donor has.
It's a great point.
Tag, the time flies by so much when we talk, and it's been a couple of years since you've been on this show, and I don't want to let that happen again. You've got so much to offer. You're such an informative and graceful guest that I definitely want you on here again. Let me ask you, please. I know there are those who will want to contact you, so please give us your contact information.
Well, I'm on social media. I can be reached. The best one usually for donations is LinkedIn, as just look up Tag Goulet, and you'll find me on social media and make a connection there.
Well, just so our viewers will know, where does the tag come from?
It's short for Therese Antoinette Goulet. It's my initials, and I like being different.
Well, it's very catchy too. It's very catchy and easy to remember. Thank you for your contact information. And I know that our viewers on YouTube and our podcast listeners will want to get in touch with you. And so I'm happy to share my contact information. The Biz Communication Guy, Bill Lampton. So logically, my website is bizcommunicationguy.com. I invite you to visit my website, check my services for corporations and leaders. Get in touch with me. I'd love to talk with you about your communication challenges and problems and how I can assist you with them. Again, Tag Goulet, a wonderful philanthropist, a great citizen, a great humanitarian. Tag, 30 seconds for a closing comment, please.
Just keep in mind that people want to do things that make them feel good, and be a kind human when you approach them. And if you get turned down, be gracious, because there's always next time. So good luck.
Very well said. What's the old saying? The harder I work, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of you who joined us on YouTube, the video portion, and on the podcast. Be with us again next week on the Biz Communication Show. I'm your host, Bill Lampton, the Biz Communication Guy.